between Trump and China, you should be on Trump's side, because even if you don't like Trump, you would hate a world where when China is actually defeating America. You should be on Trump's side, even if you hate him, given that the alternative is the Chinese model or the Islamist model or the Russian model, right? So I think we need to get our priorities in order, because if China dominates the global order, I bet you they don't give a shit about the environment. They will pollute even more. All of this EV and solar panel, this is about domination. This is not about saving the environment. They would care less about the environment than Trump ever would. So I think we need to get our priorities in order.
Yes,
All right,
100%.
Andrew, and then
Oh, thank you.
Joseph.
Thank you. Joseph, you mentioned that Putin was interested in the Black Sea shipping ports that Ukraine controlled. I agree with you. I just want to remind everybody that in the early 90s, Ukraine promised to give up its nuclear weapons in exchange for security guarantees that were approved and agreed by the United States, Russia, and other countries. So the invasion of the Crimea under, I guess that was under Obama's watch, that was illegal. But again, we're talking about ends and means. Gila, I wanted to, your words about your comments about drugs were very interesting to me. I'm not exactly sure I understand what you mean when you said that drugs are responsible for most of the climate change. I don't know if I heard you properly, but I'd like to hear more about that. I want to mention though that with respect to the U.S. experience about drugs, I'd like to remind everybody that about a month ago, Trump pardoned the leader of Honduras. He pardoned and released him, and he was a definite narco-terrorism terrorist. I mean, Honduras was providing drugs to the United States. Consequently, I don't understand why. I don't see it as being consistent that Maduro is a narco terrorist. However, Honduras, the Honduran president, was released and pardoned. He created as many deaths as Venezuela, likely. Consistency.
We are in the boiling global time. We reached that point of or no return. So now we need to think different. And most of the stuff people want me to, example, teach now in school, I don't want to teach it. It's not relevant. They want me to teach them about warm global, like we're just that's different. I only teach kids what they will have to face in 20 years. Okay? So it's the same for politics and governments. And it's a lot to explain, but about the drugs, I can tell you, pharmaceutical, drugs, chemicals, award, these chemicals. I mean, any industry, usually you will take 100% of some product, plastic, wood, and you will make it 100%, 90% product, that you can sell. And then you have like 10% that is garbage and you have to think who to sell it to. With chemicals, it doesn't work like that. So when you do pharmaceuticals, you're using a lot of chemicals to make a small product. And usually by the time it's in the market, most people throw it away and don't even use it till the end. But the 90-something% that got left in the factory, it's a huge problem.
Okay. Hila, last point, because we have people on the list.
That's it.
Oh, okay. So Samantha, I think right now it's Joseph, me, Musad, and Zach.
Yeah.
Okay. So Joseph.
Yeah, I'm going back to the thing about climate. I'm going to just go on to the drug war because I come from the political background of if we just legalized the illegal narcotics, a lot of the problems everybody is facing, regardless of what country you're in, would go away. We saw that prohibition has never once worked. United States, we outlawed alcohol. What did we get? We got the rise of the Italian, the various mafias across that infiltrated not just our police forces, but our government itself. And we're seeing the exact same thing, just on a much larger scale, with the quote unquote drug war on drugs. Joke that the drug cartels finance candidates who are against who are keep willing to keep drugs illegal. Why? Because as long as they're illegal, they make insane profits from it. And we're not talking, some people say, well, it's not that much. And I go, hey, look, we just droned out a drug running boat, and they've caught several drug. They have not $1 or $2 million worth of drugs. We're talking $40 to $200 million worth of drugs on these boats. These aren't small amounts. And personally, I would love to see the cartels have to deal with companies like Lilly, Johnson and Johnson, AstraZeneca et al., because they're not going to be able to compete in an open market. But as long as they remain illegal, these insane profits are going to continue on. People are going to get addicted whether they choose to or not. For me, I'm 30 years clean. And I want them legalized because it'll actually reduce the number of addicts, because we can put the money to places to help them out. There's just way too many problems with keeping them illegal. And the reason why a lot of addicts don't get help is because if they could find themselves going into a hospital or rehab center.
All right, that's
It's just, we need to legalize the hard narcotics, get rid of this Schedule A, Schedule 4 BS that we have, at least here in the United States, because the problem is only getting worse.
right. Okay, I think it's my turn, right?
Yeah, Armin, Masad, Zach, Uncle Coping.
And Andrew. Okay, so 2 points. When Andrew, you're talking about it being illegal for Russia to invade Crimea, right? So you're talking about international laws, right? And you seem to be a man of principle. Like, you seem to be more of a based on principles rather than consequences. You think that there are certain principles that we need to abide by, right? So let me show you exactly here how ends and means actually work here. The only force in the world that we have right now that could enforce any international rule of law is the US military. And the US military can do that because of the level of wealth that it managed to gather through capitalism to be able to afford such a giant army, right? And its domination over the markets, or its ability to provide security over international trade routes. Without the US military supporting the whatever international order we come up with, then the international laws are not laws, they're international suggestions that you could just ignore, right? And for the world power that is the United States to continue to support the current system where we can even get to talk about international laws, it needs to, I'm sorry, but the way the world works, it needs to benefit from it. That's just how it works. Like, there's not going to be a whole nation of people that are going to turn their country into a charity case. They're going to spend their resources, their military, their tax money to provide safety and security for global trade routes just because it's the nice thing to do without actually them benefiting something from it, right? Or like, it's a democracy, so their citizens are going to vote their politicians out if their military is constantly being used for providing security for other people's trade, for other people's access to energy, for other people's stability. So this is why the ends actually justify the means. If you actually like international law and international order and some sort of a system where people have to abide by, the country that is providing the framework for this to even be possible needs to get something out of it, or else they're going to quit maintaining the world order or international law, and everybody is just going to throw different lines on, the pieces of paper they call international law at each other, and no one's going to pay attention to them, because how are you going to enforce it? With what law? Just because you wrote it on a piece of paper, that doesn't mean that we actually abide by it. It's only because of the threat of what the American military can do that some people even take it seriously at all. But if America is not benefiting from it, then it's not going to work out at all. Okay, it might be true that that's just an excuse, but the thing is that, like, you're like, oh, why didn't they arrest this person? Why didn't they arrest that other person? Because Maduro was not just about drugs. Maduro was a menace to the whole planet. He was supporting terrorists. He's anti-imperialist, which means anti-American. He's anti the Western order. This is not just about drugs. I mean, if we could stop some drugs coming to America, that is fantastic. But if not, I don't give a shit. Maduro was the enemy of the Western order. If you need to sell removing him from power by telling people that he was basically bringing drugs to America, I don't care what excuse you are using. Just sell it in whatever way you have to. This was the enemy of the United States. This was the enemy of the Western global order, and he was a tumorous cancer that should have been removed. I don't care about the excuse. Anyways, I'm done.
All right, the Mossad, Zach, Uncle Coping, Andrew.
Joseph, just a coincidence, but I actually used to, well, I still do work for them. It's a company that was created by a bunch of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous people. And they were not only just very good at their business and became very successful, but they're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I don't know if it's because these are people who overcome challenge and have self-discipline or what, but seriously, some of the nicest people I ever worked with.
So let's just move on to the next person.
Michael just raised his hand. So next person is
No,
Zach.
but Elad was also
Yeah.
raised his hand.
I-
All right. I just wanted to elaborate on Hila's point about the pharmaceutical manufacturer being very inefficient. But I think what she was getting at is that to make any given mass of pharmaceutical product, you have to, we call the concept atom economy. Like you have to put in a lot of chemical inputs of solvents and reagents and stuff over a bunch of steps. While there is a huge incentive on the part of process chemists to get this process as efficient as possible, it's still, relatively speaking, a large amount of input to get a small amount of output. Given that pharmaceuticals come in very small doses of milligrams or less, you're making them on a kilogram scale. Total waste is still somewhat large, but as far as industries go, it's not a large absolute contributor, while it may be relatively to the amount of physical product it's putting out.
I will just sharpen my point about this. I mean, everything is true, but maybe we can argue about it. But I mean, just think about it. There's many ways to calculate how much pollution the industry make. So different method, different areas of life will measure it differently, and it's you need to stay awake in the country you are in to make it make sense, and not just like globally something is la 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 la.
I'm speaking from the American pharmaceutical industry.
Okay. Is Mossad not back? Oh, God, I'm gonna message him. What happened to him? I hope Khamenei didn't get to him.
Oh no. That would be
No.
bad.
Yes.
Right.
Should check.
Well,
All right, so let's go.
Massad's not here.
Yeah,
Oh,
go.
Coping.
Coping.
Yeah. I also hope Mossad didn't press the wrong button and then got a wrong beep beep. It was Joseph. He mentioned something about drugs, and he basically advocated for decriminalization, and I to some extent agree. So I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to just actually substantiate a little bit why I believe I do agree, because he made a good point with the prohibition. What it really does is I kind of view criminalization of drugs as a similar form of censorship in a sort, because you just put it in a black hole, you don't see what happens, and so your ability to respond adequately is going to be diminished. It's very pervasive because it's not those who are doing the business is fueled by social interests. So it's how people are interacting with each other. And that's where I agree with Joseph that, you can try prohibition. What do you get? You put just people underground. If they want their stuff, they're going to get it, right? So the only thing you do then when you basically, what you're doing then when you're criminalizing, you're locking them out of the market, and you're putting a punitive measure. If the argument is that you're going to punish these people for harming themselves by using drugs, how is that actually helping? That's kind of usually a very backwards logic that is applied frequently. And if you also prohibit them and you made them worried because they can get incarcerated, they're also going to run away. So kind of on the flip side, if you suddenly put a bunch of dispensers around on every street corner with morphine tablets and all those kind of hard drugs, would everyone all of a sudden go about and get crazy high? No, it's going to be maybe a spike in whatever, and then people are going to realize, oh, this is what I'm getting myself into. And then typically they will get out because they usually have a social environment that is not typically encouraging it. Of course, there is a valid argument from those who are against decriminalization that you normalize the use of drugs. But arguably, if you look at countries where it is criminalized, how is it not normalized already? From the lowest echelons of society to the highest echelons of society, right? So you're basically just sweeping a problem and just closing your eyes and you don't want to see it. And this causes not just a problem like internally society, but like I mentioned, where are the real interests that are fueling on the various social interactions and disparities that are often occurring? These are people with calculated interests, often within organized crime, but also terrorism. So just to kind of give an example exactly how powerful these can get, he mentioned the judges and police and everything like that. True. This becomes more noteworthy if you look at, for example, Norway. So the situation in Sweden, I'm sure many people are aware of, it has a very, very high crime rate. They started 2025, the first months, with a bombing attack every single month, every single day. And these were gangs mostly. It's not always terrorism, but the point is that the illicit criminal activity with drugs is concomitant with the illicit arms trade, which has radically spiked up the last 5 years. In Norway in particular, it's both in scale, scope, and advancement. So it's much closer to military grade. A lot of the things that were supposed to go to Ukraine, we are seeing popping up in Scandinavia some of the explosions that were in the beginning of 2025 in Sweden, there were Molotov cocktails and grenades of that sort, but there were also big buildings that were taken down in a single blast, car bombs of, PLO style stuff. And this, where do they get the money from? That's of course from the drugs, which you have criminalized. It's a market you basically just handed straight over to the criminals. And you think that, oh, okay, now we're going to be tough on crime and whatever. Look, in Norway, the fact of the matter is that our indigenous mafia, if you want to put it like that, they're displaced. The Swedish mafia, they have so many connections externally, internationally, with such an advanced degree of organized crime that first, not only are our organized crime units, the police and law enforcement, also in Sweden, woefully inequipped, because this is basically like dealing with internal law enforcement against a military, right? They are incredibly organized. And so they are also able to outcompete the mafia that you will find in Norway, all those other gangs, and in Sweden. So in Sweden, you have the fights. In Norway, well, we had for the last 5 years since COVID an average of 50 to 200% price rises on pretty much every single item. Notable exception, drugs. Not only did they not increase in absolute numerical sense, they actually went down, meaning that the money that was valued less, worth less, also in absolute sense went down. So drugs became
All right,
so
last
yeah.
last point. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like, so like this is the result of criminalization and being, but also at the same time soft on drugs. If you want to solve it, you have to actually be proactive and meet them and get them to you. Once you get them to you, and you can just say, have a registry here, you have a coupon, you get your drugs. You don't have to go through the misery you're going otherwise. There is a way to get close. So yeah, I'm sorry for the timing, but I basically, that's why I think that the decriminalization, there are avenues for that, which is perhaps worth considering.
Okay. Andrew, I think, right, Samantha?
Yeah, Andrew Alad, Michael.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about what Joseph said about drug use.
Okay. So I wanted to say two things. One is I really recommend listening to Professor David Pasig. David Pasig is an Israeli professor and an expert on future technologies and futures in general. He talks about many of the things that we've talked about today and really about how the world's trajectories are going, and his methods are very, very scientific and amazing, and I really, really recommend him. He has a YouTube channel, and he has many free lectures in English, so if you want to listen to that. And Armin, I wanted to ask if you have any news from Iran, if
Oh,
news are even coming in, and like what's happening with the internet. Thanks.
yeah. So the internet has been slowed down. When I went on stream, my live stream on my Persian channel, a lot of people were complaining that they can't watch my live stream because it's like buffering and it's very slow, and they were cursing the government for it. I just got some videos right now from, oh my god, my friend Sarah she's in London today, and she's protesting for Iran, and she has a sign saying "Thank you, Trump." And she was caught on Tusi TV. That's amazing. A lot of Iranians are now protesting around the world, trying to get the governments of Western countries to pay attention to the people of Iran. The signs that they're holding includes a "Thank you, Trump" on it, and also Pahlavi's picture and name on it, so that they could trying to convince Trump to also pay attention to Prince Reza Pahlavi. So that is, and I can see that they're doing that. Oh my! So there's a new chant. So I'm looking at since you're asking, I'm actually looking at the chant that the videos that people are sending me right now. So Ali just sent me something. Let me just listen to this. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this one. I'm gonna tell you guys what this is, but I'm getting updated news right all the time. Like right now as we speak, people are sending me messages from Iran in Telegram. But what I've heard last is Tehran and Mashhad seem to be like big, people are showing up really big into the cities of Tehran and Mashhad. And I don't know if you know, but Prince Reza Pahlavi put up a call out for people to come capture the streets completely in millions. So we'll see if the Iranian people are going to respond to that. But that was a big news today. Okay, so I'm going to raise my hand so I could listen to this because there apparently are some new chants.
One question. Wasn't there like a chant from Tehran to Mashhad, or is it what Bibi said a couple of months ago?
I
There was
don't
something
know.
about it.
Oh,
Okay, it's
oh,
some poetic.
so there's a lot of chants where Iranian people say from here to here, and then they say something, and it's usually two cities in Iran. So that's a framework for a lot of the chants. Like for example, from that city to that city, we will sacrifice our lives for Iran, but it's usually like two cities far apart to just basically suggest that they're covering all of Iran, right? And by the way, guys, if you want to also talk more about Iran and the consequences, if we could be as successful in Iran as we were in Venezuela, I think the consequences of that is even bigger, much bigger than what's happening in Venezuela. So if you guys want to talk about that as well, I would be very interested to see what your opinions are. So raise your hands if you have any opinions or if you have any questions. Oh, John
Akbar
just raised his
Rakshit,
hand.
Akbar Rahani.
Yes. John and Gila raised their hand, so good. So who's on the
Okay.
list right now?
Michael, you, then Andrew or Masad if they want are back, and then Michael and Hila. And then Sheila. So yeah, gonna add Hila. So
The cartel is a double-edged sword because right in Mexico, you have different factions that are really preying on small business owners and they're killing them and stuff like that. The Mexican government is always under threat by the cartel because they have mass surveillance systems like cameras that they hacked in Mexico City. And so the Mexican government was scared of that. So I feel like, honestly, I'm kind of in support of Trump's idea of just like bombing the shit out of the cartel or just sending Delta Force to annihilate them. Like, that's my opinion. Because I have many relatives, I have relatives that, were killed, you know, from the cartels and stuff like that. So I'm kind of in
how are they?
support of that.
Can I ask, like, how were they killed?
Pardon?
Like, why were how did they end up? Like, were they? Do you mean like overdosed, killed, or like trying to compete with the
No, no,
cartel?
like executed. So what happens is like small business owners, you have to pay like a piso, like you have to pay like a tax for operating your business. It doesn't matter
Protection
if you're
money.
involved with them or not. Yeah, protection money. Yeah. And if
Jizya,
you don't pay that
jizya.
protection money, yeah, basically, exactly that kind of thing. So if you don't pay that, they're gonna like either kill you or kidnap
Yeah,
you or
like
your family and stuff like that. So
their version of jizya.
the problem is it's gotten out of control. Yeah, exactly. And because there's several factions of the cartel.
I'm from Tijuana, so one time when I was coming back from my wife, she's from Mexico City, and I was visiting, going to pick her up at the airport. And as I was crossing the border from San Diego to Tijuana, I got a call from my brother saying that something's going on in the city. And as soon as I crossed, cars were being burnt, and they were asking people to get out of their car, and they were burning them. And there were various burned cars in the roads throughout the city. They actually blocked the road towards Rosarito, where I was gonna go that night. I ended up not going just because, I didn't want to get like kidnapped, or I didn't want to get like my car burnt.
And a crossfire.
And the city was in terror for like the whole night. And the cartels do this, when they capture one of their capos or something like that, like the city pays for this bad. And the Mexican government really, does not have the caliber at this point to, resist them as much. Like these guys are like fucking serious. Like they have like military grade weapons. And if you look at Jalisco Nueva Generación, they look like straight up militias.
They're the worst, man.
Um,
They have drones too, like in Baja California as well, like near Tijuana.
hey,
The winery areas, that's where they have drones operating. That's where it's more dangerous. And I saw a video, yeah, exactly, Oscar, of like the Mexican National Guard being killed by a cartel drones over there. It's really bad. It's really bad. So I feel like, I think it's not a bad idea if the US gets involved at this point.
All right.
Because the Mexican government has the capabilities. The problem is just that they're too scared and they're being somewhat financed by the cartel.
Okay, let's move. Okay, so let's move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Armin, and then
Thank you. Oh, I just have a short thing to say because I finally managed to listen to the chant. So one of the new chants that the Iranian people have just came up with is Pahlavi Shah mas, Trump tarafdar mas. So this is the new chant that is circulating in Iran now, which translates to Pahlavi is our king, Trump is our supporter. So that's what Iranian people are right now chanting in the streets of Tehran. And Samantha, you were saying something?
well, the idea is to overthrow the current American system.
And you don't support
Well,
that, do you? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't ask that question, huh? No, go ahead. Just tell me what they think.
they want to overthrow the current American system, like
Right, right.
institute a communist system,
Okay.
and then new communist system won't violate international laws, and like new communist system, along with China, would be strong enough to enforce world order. So it's like they kind
Yeah.
of want
Okay.
America after communist revolution, but like, they don't want like pre-communist America.
Okay, that's what they
So until we have a communist revolution, they want to keep America from acting too international. If they can keep America from acting too international, then China should be able to manage and be strong enough to manage everyone else because China's stronger than pretty much everyone besides America.
and they don't acknowledge the fact that China is one of the most capitalist countries in the world. They don't even acknowledge that.
Everyone believes China is like a communist utopia.
Okay. And they don't talk about the fact that it actually has free markets and free trade and
I had
a stock
no idea it
market.
had free market. That felt like the most mind-blowing thing you have ever said to me.
Oh, okay.
But
I mean, the
there,
Shanghai stock market is Shanghai is trying to compete with Singapore with becoming the financial capital of the Far East, as with their stock exchange and everything.
they
And this
don't
is
all
completely brand new.
they also don't talk about how China keeps violating other countries' sovereignties. I mean, they've taken parts of India, they've reached to islands of Japan, and they're basically creating a new sea empire, and no one talks about how China is violating the world's order, but everything is about America. Everything is about the British Empire that has died decades ago. I mean, seriously, it's
Yeah, I mean, go ask the Vietnamese about Chinese Go ask the Filipinos and the Vietnamese and the Indonesians and the Japanese regarding China violating international order. They're basically they're taking over their, you know, what is it called, like they're violating the border integrity. They're claiming a whole bunch of areas in the sea that belongs to Vietnam, Philippines, and these other countries. And the Vietnamese and the Philippines have, like, basically once every month they're trying to protect some of their islands, and China is attacking them by force. I mean, America hasn't done that. America hasn't actually gone and violated other countries' border integrity, which is actually the most violation of international law.
Hey, Armin.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that I view is Russia. China's making a smart move. They're basically, like milking the shit out of Russia. And if it keeps getting weaker over time, China is gonna do like border incursions within the Russian Federation and be like, hey, you're in our list too. Yeah, we want Siberia or this part of Siberia that you took away from us.
Yep. Oh, by the way, other people are waiting. I can't wait
Yeah, I
for
mean,
that
I've
to
only
happen.
heard things like China's protecting its border and it's protecting territory that rightfully belongs to China.
Against Vietnam and the Philippines?
Yeah.
they don't. They actually took regions of India where there is water because they are keep drying out their resources.
They even took
Because
Tibet.
what?
I mean, calling Vietnam and the Philippines part of the world
China took
imperial,
Tibet
like Western
as
imperial
well.
order, is kind of
Well,
laughable. Like, it's yeah.
they're kind of being helped by like the US empire.
No.
Like the
No,
US
no, no, no.
empire is what split Korea.
No, the Chinese empire is trying to take over East Asia and basically the entire world.
Yes,
That
and
is
they're
what
they're
is
pushing.
happening right
They're
now. They literally took islands from Japan.
Yeah, and they're pushing these countries towards America because they're like, help us. We have this guy's bullying us, and they're pushing them towards America
I,
because they're dealing with China. They're being bullied by China, so they need American help. All right, so we should go to Michael. Did you say okay? Yeah, we should go to Cat Lady and Uncle Coping, right?
Yeah, that
I
is
don't know.
fair.
Yes. I have one question and
Yep.
also one proclamation. I want to announce that I think the US is practically and actually using as the Jews of the world countries, besides the Jews, which is Israel. It's like you
Wait.
can blame America for everything and most people will believe it. But it's not working because there is
Oh,
the
I
Jewish
see.
countries.
So after Israel, America is the number 2 scapegoat of the world. Okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
okay.
And second, I have a question for anyone who ever knows that since Maduro is being arrested and his wife, under what charge is it? What is he arrested for officially?
That's a
I've
I
good
heard
mean,
question. I don't know.
go ahead, John.
I heard that it was that he's like leader of this cartel called the Cartel de
Tren del
los.
Agua, Cartel
Yeah,
de los Soles.
How about supporting Hamas? So Hezbollah, like supporting
right.
terrorism around the world. This should be on the list.
Also all the collectivos he backed that were like killing people during like I think 2017 onward. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a
Oh,
lot
the
of
That's a
militias, the
there's
Chavistas.
that's a good question, Cat Lady. But I think we're going to be able to see all of that in real time because they're going to the court is going to be in America. I hope they broadcast it live. That would be really good for live streaming. Imagine
Armin,
if
but
Trump
that
I
will
feel like
happens.
say he was arrested like a dog.
Armin, this is only the
Oh,
beginning because what's it called? You have Delcy Rodriguez, that fucking lady. She's the successor of Nicolas Maduro. She's the worst. I hope that lady
wow.
gets killed.
Yeah, going live when the Maduro is trying to defend himself, like standing there. Oh my god, that would be a good show. Love to see that. All right.
I'm not sure where he's going to be tried since he's not subject to American laws, right? He's not any sort of American resident.
I don't think that matters. I think they're gonna. I don't think that matters.
Like, I don't think America has the right to arrest people in, let's say, the United Kingdom, even if it's for something like murder, right? You can extradite if you have treaties, but it's hard to see what would apply in this case. Also, sorry, but it's been 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's go
Well,
to.
how would you explain Europe, Interpol and Europol and this arrest?
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure they have their own category for that.
I guess it can be tried by those guys.
Do they have like martial law, some sort of military court or something for stuff like this?
Mossad has special permission. It's called not acknowledging anything. So
I'm pretty sure they have military courts for stuff like this. So I think they're going to be fine. But yeah, I'm coping. He's been waiting for a long time to speak.
I'll try to be quick. As a matter of definition, international law is by definition a contradiction. Because if you think about what is law, national law, that's sovereign law, right? So that means that I am the one who rule, I am the one who sets it, right? And so when you have international law, this is not only a contradiction by definition, but that contradiction is why we do not have a global police. No national sovereign is ever going to be accepting that they're going to have another law that is sovereign above them. You might overcome it, but until that time happens, just expect yourself to be continuously disappointed if you think that international law is anything more than, I think Armin said, yeah, it's a suggestion. In the world of politics, there's so much complication. It's not just simply, I'm going to come together and shake hands with you. There's like, I have to get together and let's have a memorandum of understanding. Let's sign a letter of intent. And the UN is like a place where you can buffer the maybe excessively fast moves. However, as we have seen, of course, it can be heavily politicized. I didn't mean to spend so much time on international law, but as for Russia and NATO, Russia actually applied for NATO at some point, but they were rejected. And one can say like, oh, that's their domestic policies and so forth, which, there might be some merit to it, but some of the arguments there applies also for pre-existing NATO members. The main reason why Russia can't join NATO is precisely because Russia's geographic position and its size and like it's a natural regional hegemon. So as soon as you remove that barrier of animosity, basically, like if you join Russia with NATO, then Europe will naturally gravitate towards Russia and out of the sphere of the United States. So the Russia would have to be fundamentally different in a manner that the United States consider it very good. You see this now, right? Trump made it very clear. If you connect that pipeline, I know it was Biden that said it. You connect that pipeline and something's going to happen, and voila, Nord Stream happened. If the United States somehow managed to get, I think Joseph was mentioning about Russia and oil. It's kind of the other way around. Like if you take out Venezuela and Iran, then Trump only needs to make a deal with Putin, and that's going to be a gut punch into the Chinese, who needs to import Russian oil, right? So it's kind of that way around. So, and finally, the US Jew part, with which Cat Lady was mentioning. Yeah, I see that all the time. Even the protesters in Iran, I saw comments that were saying like, if they want the Shah, they deserve all the hell that's coming for them. From people who are not even living in Iran. But that's just, they despise the United States. So, yeah, I hope I didn't spend too much time, but that was my 3 points. So, thank you.
That was